Hey, I hear the voices of the preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith to a broken down television and put on the weather. And I've trained myself to give up on the past, cause I've frozen time between hearses and caskets. Lost control when I panicked at the acid test. I wanna get better.
Hello and welcome to Muscatine Viewpoint. You've got it tuned in live right now if you're watching on February 1st, Thursday at 5:30, streaming on YouTube, checking our Facebook page out, or on Access Channel 9. If you're watching this live, you can actually text in some comments, but we've got a new Facebook thread started that you can go to Facebook page right now, get on it, and if you have a comment or a question or something related to what we're saying, either live or later on, go on there, and I'm hoping that you can get involved in the show through our online options. Today's show, street solutions. Streets are important, and there's a lot of action going on in the streets of Muscatine, and the city of Muscatine has a lot to do with that. We hire some competent professionals to deal with that accordingly, and I thought we'd bring in a representative from the city. And we've got some photos, some videos, some explanations. We're going to talk about the concept of back-in parking versus parallel parking, talking about roundabouts. We'll be talking about the Hauser Street roundabout, the Grandview Corridor project. That's coming up next. And because I'm interested in a roundabout around Carver Corners area, I thought I'd give you guys an idea of what they have planned for 2019, 2020 as well. In addition to what we've got going on in Mississippi River Drive right now, it's getting a facelift, and we're going to talk all about it. Before we get to that, though, I've got a greetings from Muscatine. So I always like to make some postcards for people who might be from out of town so they can kind of check back in on seeing what's going on in Muscatine here. And here's our skyline. Now, when Mark Twain made a mention of how beautiful the skyline was in Muscatine, that was before the GPC and smokestacks were there. We need those, that's just how economy works. But unfortunately for some, and fortunately for others maybe, there's a class action suit I read about. 14,000 residents are in a class action suit against GPC, citing that they need compensation for the loss of enjoyment of their properties. So if you live within 1.5 miles of GPC, you automatically, unless you're a minor, got involved in this class action suit. I didn't really research it much to know what kind of payout it is, or this, and that. But apparently the emissions and accompanying odor of GPC were not allowing them to enjoy the properties to the fullest of their potential. I'm not going to comment on that any further except to enjoy this postcard from Muscatine, and that's that. Look forward to those each week as we continue this season of Muscatine Viewpoint. This is a show about all the great things happening in Muscatine and opinions and viewpoints from citizens, either guests or online contributors. So let's figure out and introduce our guest today, Kevin Jenison, Muscatine Communications Manager. There he is. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, just your background as a resident, just briefly so we know who you are, and then I want to know what your job is at Muscatine Communications Manager. But so have you lived here all your life? What's your deal?
Actually, I moved here in August of 2016. Was hired by Lee Enterprises to be the managing editor of the Muscatine Journal. Thoroughly enjoyed that, getting to know the community. Lasted about 6 months before we kind of parted ways, but you always experience when one door closes, another door opens. That's exactly what happened for me and my family, and happened to just meet and speak with some of the city leaders, and they needed some help in their communications department. So ever since March of last year, that's what I've been doing.
Wow. Was there a moment where you were gonna move out of Muscatine, or were you at the 6 months in of that first job, kind of wanting to stay put, or what was going on right about that?
You know, the first time I drove into Muscatine, came from Illinois across the bridge,
Okay.
saw the riverfront. I just fell in love with the community. It's just has tons of great people, great possibilities. I have thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it. When my wife came to join me, she fell in love with the community, and we had no plans to leave.
Good. So it worked out. It's always interesting to see people's perspective from out of town too. So that, in an interesting way, gives you a cool perspective to help make Muscatine even better, because you're fresh set of eyes.
That's right.
Okay. So, and now your job now is communications manager. What do you do for the city, basically?
Oh, basically, I promote any of the city employees, the departments, the projects that we have going on. Try to really tell the positive stories that there are, and there are so many that has kept me busy. So we have a lot of great things going on right now. We have a lot of great things coming up in the future. The future for Muscatine is very, very bright, and I'm really looking forward to telling some more of those stories.
Yeah, and there's you can see the struggles with communicating through, not struggles, but there's so many different ways people are communicating now through
Right.
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all the different avenues. So that's probably part of why this position was created. The city realized, wait a minute, there's a lot of different opportunities that we can leverage.
Even in the newspaper business, you have to realize that social media is a growing distribution channel, and the city realizes that too. We have our own Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, various YouTube channels, and that is a very good way to get our message out, the information out. Transparency has been a catchphrase for ever since I came here,
Yeah.
and that's one of my goals, is if the things that I find out about, that I know that people want to know about, that's the newspaper person in me. It's time to let the people know, and social media is good at that, but it's also good to get it into the newspapers and on TV and radio. So that's the other part of it. One you're writing for the journalism fields themselves. The other you're writing for the social media aspect of it.
So having said all that, I realized when I'm communicating about city-related opportunities, it's a pretty popular genre of communications, because the city affects us. Their decisions that we, not just the politicians, but the people we've hired, they literally have an effect on the greatness of our city. And I find myself talking about the city of Muscatine a lot, because they do a lot of things that affect us. And specifically today we're talking about streets. And the Mississippi Drive Corridor project is the main thing we're talking about. And it's a huge project. It's not done, it's in the works. And so we have this first photo that I did want to kind of show. When you guys were originally pitched the idea of what to do with the Mississippi Drive Corridor. And if you're just tuning in, this is what the Mississippi Drive Corridor kind of means. This is a different vantage point. But if you can read on the bottom there, you can kind of see some of the things that the developers were mentioning would be good things to add. I think they're talking about some trees, some medians, some different opportunities. So there's sort of the before picture from this angle. And then there was a public meeting, which we'll reference later. And we have a photo of what they pitched. And add some green, really helping. And that's what you're striving for, correct? For the most part.
Right. The huge push right now is to provide the green spaces, but also in this aspect with Mississippi Drive, we wanted to make that connection between the riverfront, which is constantly evolving, and our downtown, which is amazingly transforming into a place to live, to shop, and to dine. So we want to make that connection, and that's what this corridor design is all about.
Now, and that's one of the reasons I invited you on the show, too, is because if you don't understand the backstory between the Blue Zones concepts, between the reason why ultimately this is in the community's best interest, I'm talking well-being, longevity, economically, financially, plethora of reasons why this is in Muscatine residents' best interest. But up front, right at the moment, even I could see where if you don't know the backstory, it's confusing and it's not all flattering, the comments you're getting with respect to some of it. And I think we can kind of talk about why it was there, and I think it's going to help things out.
Sure.
One thing, and you said it best though, the whole point, the way I understand it, of this particular Mississippi Drive corridor is to, literally when you're downtown and you want to be connected to the riverfront, which are huge, already great, but even more plans coming. It's a little bit, there was a 4-lane highway, semi-trucks, trains running through there, horns blowing, emissions and carbon monoxide. They were kind of two separate things.
Right.
And with this design, by slowing traffic down, by making it less traffic friendly. So if you're thinking to yourself as a driver, it was better before with respect to how quickly I was able to get through here. Congratulations, that was by design. The way I understand it, this is more catered towards pedestrians, and using this as you wouldn't barrel through 2nd Street, downtown 2nd Street. You'd go at a normal pace that you would when there's...
Right.
So that's the first thing. If you're used to going from point A to point B, you're not going to be able to pass. It's a 2-lane, not a 4-lane.
That's right.
You can see where there's some concern.
Well, yes, and it's very understandable that if you're used to a 4-lane going through Muscatine, you would be concerned about it going down to a 2-lane with a center island. But the city did a lot of studies. Our architects did a lot of additional studies. The traffic flow just wasn't there to keep a 4-lane road in place. We wanted additional parking. There was no way to do that with the 4-lane road. We wanted to turn really a gray drab aspect between the downtown and the riverfront into something that was both easy to navigate and pedestrian friendly, bike friendly, just something nice to look at.
Yeah, so if the viewing audience keeps that as your end goal in mind, and they're going to critique the situation based on what you're trying to do, then you're going to get some pretty high marks.
Right.
If and that's why I'm trying to get the word out that that's what you were trying to accomplish. If you were trying to, make traffic flow at a quicker pace and allow more access for trucks and transportation, and for people to drive faster without worrying about somebody backing in parking, then there might be some confusion. But having said that goal, and if we justify the reasons why those goals are important, I think people are going to get on board with flying colors. Not that they're not, but some people aren't, and those negative attitudes do tend to get a little traction.
They do, and we certainly understand that. And the only thing we will say is that just be patient, wait for the project to be completed. At least these next 2 phases will be such a change, even greater than what you've seen so far. But the finished product will be something that all Muscatine residents will have pride in.
So Alex, throw up those photos from the Blue Zone to start with, and then we'll roll this video. But when I was touring the City of Muscatine's website, which I recommend everybody does if they have any concerns, or you're transparent as you can be. But the ones that say corridor, isn't there, show a photo. And this one, there should be some after that then. And they basically, nope, those are the Grandview ones. You might have to scroll down. We're going to go over this a little bit later. But they're the ones that there's one. Okay. Pull down that sign, the graphic. I don't know if you people can read that at home, but basically, here's what the deal was on-street parking. You're trying to decide whether versus parallel or back-in parking. Obviously, you can get more people parked with this approach compared to parallel. And if you read the fine print there, they're also talking about some perks you might not have thought of, but when you do back in, once you're backed in and you open your door on either side, you're not opening your door into traffic.
Right.
Same thing when you go to get something out of your trunk. You're not dangling out there in traffic. You've got the sidewalk, so you've got a nice, comfortable little area there. And also, pragmatically, you get more spots there. Yeah, this particular shot is also interesting because of the trees. And another thing about having parking like that, there's a buffer between the pedestrians walking on the sidewalk and the street too. Another way that it's pedestrian friendly. Go to the next slide. And this is not Muscatine, but if you can kind of see beyond there, there's the back end parking approach. And I have a comment on why I think our situation is different. But yeah, having the stop sign, having the cement brick there, but the back end parking concept, I think it makes sense when you see this photo that, okay, you get it. We have another photo here. And here's a less flattering version of this is happening in cities all over America. If you were to do parallel parking there, you'd have maybe 5 spots. If you do the count there, you've got 10. I don't know how many more you get, but you get twice as many. I don't know.
Pretty close. It's somewhere between twice as many and 1.5 times. I mean, it just depends on the space you're working with.
So this photo, now this isn't going to be exactly like our Mississippi corridor looks like, but don't judge it just yet because there's trees coming and green space. But the point of that median in the middle and the grass and the trees on either side, it gives you a sense, and you can vouch for this if you're running down a trail or in a big city of Chicago with the towers on either side, you don't feel psychologically as like you should be driving at a fast rate of speed. These trees actually slow traffic down. Kind of an odd thing, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, yep.
And so when these trees grow in the middle of our Mississippi corridor, they're gonna make it more pedestrian friendly. Slow the traffic down a little bit. 25 miles per hour is all we're saying, right? I mean, it's not like slow it down.
That's the speed limit, yeah.
Okay, so Carl Wolf, thank you for he lived in Muscatine 20 or 30 years ago, but I was strolling through the Muscatine Journal, and there's an editorial here, and I didn't know where this guy was going from it. He was from Arizona, but he was saying he moved away in 2009, and everything's pretty much the same, talking about how there's no celebrities, no Disneyland, but people like that kind of small town feel. But then all of a sudden, Carl Wolf goes AWOL on us and starts talking about this, how the city of how we have changed Mississippi corridor from 4-lane to 2-lane. And this guy, I'm glad he commented, but he doesn't have any idea of the background. So like you might be, when you're new to Muscatine, you might be a little confused if you knew what it used to be. So this isn't for Carl, he moved away, but he got his article in the Journal, and it's less than flattering. But I'll just give you a couple things he's saying, and then I want to show the video of me kind of testing some of his theories. And I'm sure you get asked these all the time, but he's mentioning if for some ill-fated reason a car would stall along here, wouldn't that create a traffic jam? Because there's no way around. How would a tow truck maneuver to get your car out? What about slow-moving equipment? What about emergency vehicles? And this has been talked about.
Right.
And the police and the fire department, correct me if I'm wrong, feel pretty confident this is not as a non-issue. But if you see a siren behind you and you're on this stretch of road, you're not going to have the ability to yield in the traditional sense of the word. So talk to us about that.
Well, theoretically, you're right, but it's still the same principle. When you are on this road and see some police vehicle behind you, or fire truck, or an ambulance, you want to pull to the right, preferably as safely and as quickly as possible. It is the responsibility of the emergency vehicle to go around you. The medians were designed to allow the emergency vehicles to go over them. So if they see somebody stopped ahead of them, they can go over the median, into the median, and go around you. Of course, there are some areas that have the trees, and I was talking to a couple of the police officers that says if you are going to stop, try not to stop right next to a tree, which kind of makes sense. But the theories is still the same, and the stalled vehicles is still the same. These things happen on a normal city street, two-lane street, with parking on both sides or on one side. Same thing as that happens on Mississippi Drive. You still have to pull to the right. You have to wait for the emergency vehicle to go around. If you want to, and if you're close enough, you can actually proceed to the next intersection and pull over in the intersection, as long as they're not wanting to turn there. So you have those options, and
you can see where it's confusing from somebody thinking about, well, you didn't have to worry about any of that when it was a 4-lane.
Well, actually you did, because most of the traffic was taking place in the center 2 lanes. Mm-hmm. And the outside 2 lanes weren't as utilized. But there were some safety issues with those too, and especially when he got toward the bluffs, when it really narrowed down. And
okay, Alex, go ahead and roll that photo, and we'll kind of, as things come to my mind, I'll ask you questions. But I think the people, maybe they haven't driven down Muscatine for a while. Of course, this is a worldwide show now, so people from out of town might be tuning in. But
let's hope so.
We have a photo of how to back in parking. But here I am coming out of the street there. There's the nice hotel. We kind of start in here. We get a look at the median and how that's going to pan out. The railroad tracks to the right there. We're heading north-ish towards there. Now, right off the bat, I need to know, can I legally do this? I wanted to go back the other way, so I just did a U-turn. Is that illegal, or what's the deal?
If it's not posted?
Because I think it should be allowed, because it's no more evasive than the back-end parking thing. You're driving behind somebody, and all of a sudden they want to park. At first, you're going to feel a little angry that they stopped right in front of you. And unfortunately, I have a couple examples because it happened both times. But I want to talk about back-in parking. Let's educate some people while we're doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little, I'm not sure what happens here, but to the right, look at all those spots now that we didn't have before, spot after spot. Now, if you're wanting to go back the other direction, though, you're in a little spot of bother. But I'm going to attempt to back-in park here. Not that it was going to be hard. I will admit that when there's not cars to help you, it is kind of hard to get between the lines. So here's the Dreammobile doing the back-end park in front of the Contrary and or the nutrition outlet, depending on what you might want to do here. So I think we did some 2-camera shoot edit here. And yeah, nothing too serious about that. And you might, we'll look at the sign, I don't know the rules, but you basically, just like parallel parking, except it's a little easier, quite frankly, obviously, because you're not doing the full 3-point, align the mirrors, you're just backing in. There was somebody behind me, so they just barreled by. I think I didn't really see them, but the way I understand it, that's their problem, not mine.
It is. It is, and you're taught this in driver's ed when you're taught parallel parking. If you signal your intent to back up and park, you stop, and you start in reverse. It is the person behind you's responsibility to be out of your way. So if they're paying attention and give you enough room, there shouldn't be any problem.
Okay. Now here the graphic said attempt to turn around. Now assuming that I'm not going to pull a U-ey on this little corner here, I was just asking myself, okay, I went to the Contrary. I live up by the mall or wherever. I need to go the other direction, but so far I can't. Okay, so right here I could do a U-turn.
Right.
But I wasn't sure about that, so I'm going to go ahead now. And I think this is a great opportunity. For the first place I thought it felt comfortable was 2 guys and a grill. Now, not only is this a great place to do the U-turn, but you don't have to go all the way to the bowling alley or anything. I was worried about that. But they have $2. You can get a side and a drink added to your order. I would have never known that had you guys not redone the Mississippi Drive corridor. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting that this should be the way to turn around. And I think we have some great opportunities with the Carver Corners turnaround. But if I didn't want to back in, do a 3-point turnaround on a private residence driveway, this was the first chance I thought felt real kind of comfortable turning around.
You will have the opportunity, I mean, you do have the opportunity to make a U-turn right at the end of the bluff before you get to the residential areas. Right now, there's the orange cones there, but that's just because they haven't finished that area.
People can turn around there, and again, I agree that shouldn't be an issue because it's just a part of slowing traffic down. People aren't going to be barreling through there anymore.
No, and I mean, even when it was a 4-lane, it was still. Yeah.
You weren't supposed. It was a good speed trap. Yeah, it was a nice speed trap actually because people were coming in hot into this pedestrian. What we're trying to make a pedestrian-friendly end of town.
Right.
So now we're just approaching it from the other angle. I went to the guy in the grill, got myself a buffalo burger. I didn't know they served those, but I think they're going to get some good business for a while. And now you're going back the other way. Now notice when the trees are there, it's narrow. And that's good. I mean, that's that by design.
Right. There's not going to be a lot of tall plantings there because the light fixtures, light posts will be in the middle. But you
so still have an open feel.
Yeah, it'll have a very open feel. There'll be some low plantings through there, kind of what you're seeing right now.
So you could potentially do over those medians. There's plenty of places where. Yeah, I see what you're saying. There's plenty of places where an emergency vehicle could transgress over the.
Right, and that's where they were. That's why they were designed that way.
Now I'm rocking a U-turn here, but I didn't cut it right, so I ended up. Oh no, I did. Okay, that one I did good. There's a learning curve to rocking those U-turns out. You have to get to the far right. Now I'm going to do another back-in park, and now I did notice there was a car behind me, so I wanted to challenge this. I could have got rear-ended, but I thought it was for the better of the town, so I went ahead and went for it. There was a guy right behind me, and I just went for it. I was like, all right, we're filming it. The insurance should cover this. He did not know what the heck was going on, and I don't blame him. I'm totally missing the line, but the guy's making me nervous because he's right on me. And he didn't finger me or anything, but it's new. It was new for him. It was new for me. And now, again, I'm confused if I can turn around or not. But asking the owner of the contrary, she was suggesting that, yeah, we're just going to flip a Yui here. So, I didn't feel comfortable there. So I went down to what I thought would be the first non-U-turn related turn. So you pull into this guy's driveway here, 711 Mississippi Drive. Thanks for allowing us to pull in. But now you're kind of doing a kind of an unsafe maneuver, backing across 2 lanes of traffic. So you're probably not advising this.
No, I wouldn't advise it, but
It's gonna happen.
It's something you do in residential areas anyway.
Yeah. It's more of a residential feel now.
It does.
Because otherwise, I have to go all the way around up Green Street. I have to at some point get going the direction I came from.
And that's why these medians were designed that way, and why you have such a wide area to be able to turn around if you need to. 9 times out of 10, you probably won't. I mean, you're going in the direction you want to travel, but there's always that one time where you may have forgotten something or you needed to go the other direction. As long as you use your turn signals and obey the traffic laws, there's no problem with doing a U-turn. There's plenty of room. The median's wide enough. There's space at either end for you to do that. So
cool. That's reassuring. And again, I'm sure you've told us or something, but I didn't know. So hopefully now I know. It's not all about me though. Hopefully some people are watching the show and will know as well. Show the photo of there's a sign there. Now it's not the best way to communicate. Only reason I say that's because what are you going to do? Get out of your car and go look at it? But there is a sign there for pedestrians or people parking. You're trying to teach. I don't know if you had this sign in mind when you designed it, but at some point somebody realized people do not know how to do this.
Right.
Is that what this was about?
Well, this is a pretty standard sign across the country. You'll see them in every community that has the back-end angled parking.
Did you plan on ordering those, or in retrospect, did you figure we better pop a couple of those out?
No, they were all part of the plan. So.
All right. Now, I read in the paper as well, or wherever, I don't know where I get my news anymore, but you're still having it be a truck route. Now, I will tell you that the Blue Zones concept in San Luis Obispo, which is in California, they did the same thing, even more so extreme. They cut all the traffic, all the truck traffic from going through their downtown. And at first the citizens were irate because they didn't understand how they're going to get their commerce. Just like when you guys changed the one way into a 2-lane, the business owners were like, well, wait a minute, how are we going to get our shipments? Because when the trucks stop on a 2-lane, they're backing up traffic. There's no way around them. There's a little pushback. In San Luis Obispo, which is one of the places where people in America live to be 100 or longer, more than anywhere else in the country, it worked. They love it now because what happened was people eventually started using what they'll do in our case is the bypass. Unless they're going to Han, they start finding different routes for that. and the people that are so it became more pedestrian friendly. Commerce grew downtown. People overall wellness improved. Like I said, businesses thrived. More things to do. A destination for tourists and for residents. But at first, there's a couple years where people were a little grumpy.
Right, and we totally expect that, but
it's still a truck route.
It is still a truck route. We have no intention to deny access throughout that corridor.
If you are a trucker and you're aware of the community and you don't need to go that way, you probably, hopefully won't. I mean, that's my opinion, is that aren't you kind of suggesting, like, if you don't need to go that way, we're hoping that maybe you'll realize that go a different route.
Well, for the most part, most of the truck traffic is on the bypass.
Yep.
But, you know, Han, GPC, there's businesses along Mississippi Drive that get deliveries. So we can't say no to trucks. We don't want to say no to trucks. They were taken into account as in the design. Right now, it's very difficult because sometimes they use Pine Street or they use one of the others, narrower streets that weren't made or designed for truck traffic. Now, Iowa is, Mulberry is. Those are the two side streets that are really designed for truck traffic, but we're not going to be able to really take full advantage of them until the Mississippi Drive is complete.
That's true. Now here's my critique of this back-end parking with respect to why it doesn't make as much sense here as it does in downtowns. You back in, everything's fine, and you're in a downtown, then you pull out, but you want to go the other direction. Well, in that scenario, you just go up to the nearest block and then go right or left. Well, in this exact scenario, if you're parked there, you can take a right up the street.
Right.
But since you're saying that U-turns are fine, now okay, now I'll agree with this a little bit more, because you see what I'm saying? You can't go the other direction, but downtown city streets, it doesn't matter, because you can just go around the block.
Right.
There's no block to go around here is my big, I'm trying to say.
Well, and you know that's
a little different.
It is different, and it's a huge learning curve. And the people, visitors and residents of Muscatine, are learning how to do this, and we're always listening and wanting to do things the right way. We had changes in design for Mississippi Drive right up until the start of construction, just because we were listening to
people,
especially the business owners along there, which, you know, they're the ones that we affected during these first two phases, and so we did listen to them.
What I'm hoping is that people also think about the blue zone concept of moving naturally. So say you're going to the contrary, or you're going to the nutrition outlet, or you're getting your hair salon done, or you're going to the new yogurt shop we just realized was there, and you don't want to do the U-turn thing or whatever. Park up the hill a little bit and walk.
Right.
Oh, what happened? You got your Fitbit out, you got some extra steps, you got a little bit of exercise, and you don't need to go to the Y and run the treadmill 30 minutes to get exercise. You can enjoy walking through a downtown block of Muscatine and park where it's convenient. Just like the parking on the riverfront. It might not be the most convenient to have to walk 3 blocks to Stanley, but I think they get it. Over the course of a year, that's 1.1 pounds. I've done the research. I'm just teasing. But no, you get a little exercise built in too, and you're going to live a longer, happier life in Muscatine, whether you like it or not. It's fun.
Well, and that's one of our focuses is to provide a.
Freeze frame here, Alex. Go ahead.
That's one of the focuses we have is a healthier you. Our Parks and Recreation Department is very up on that, and our design is very focused on that. I'm sure we'll get into this later, but Grandview Avenue is going to be the same way.
Because healthier, happier people don't get sick as much. They contribute to the economy. They attract people, attract tourism, start businesses. Everybody's winning.
Everybody's winning.
I'm real proud of Muscatine. The people that make decisions for embracing the blue zones and the idea of what it could mean for us, big picture wise, if we make some of these small changes that might not be clear up front. The reason I was going to have you install that was because roundabouts, I think that Carver Corner roundabout might come in handy for people that don't want to do the U-turn, because now it's going to make so much sense. You're going to go all the way around and turn around there. And if people don't know where the Carver Corners is, I don't have time to explain it right now, but roundabouts are, we're not talking about them right now. I've got it in order here, but same thing. Some people get it, and some people don't. And the people that get it, are trying not to be patronizing. But I've been in the roundabout, and I love it. But you get around a couple people, you realize they are so confused by the whole concept of not stopping.
Right. Again, it's just another one of those different types of traffic devices that take some time to understand, get used to, especially if you're, I've never ventured through them, and which is, I understand that, but a lot of communities are going through them.
And we've got potentially 3 planned more. So he's showing you, all right, we'll go out of order here because that's all right. I want to talk about the quiet zone, but here's the one at Hauser. This is the proposed plan, and not a huge expensive thing because this is a mini roundabout, the way I understand it.
It is a mini roundabout that was proposed. The city council tabled it for the time being. They wanted a few more studies done as far as whether this was the best fit for that neighborhood, or I think one of the council members suggested maybe seeing what making it a 4-way stop. So I think they're doing a little bit more research on that. They may end up having a public meeting on that just to kind of make sure that we know exactly what the people want. The mini roundabout is the safest option for drivers and for pedestrians. It keeps traffic moving. It gives pedestrians a safe spot to be.
So you're reminding me of a psychological phenomenon that I'm hope don't succumb to, but I think some of the council members might. But when they get that one email saying, why are you doing this? When it's only 1 hour a day, twice a day, and for 9 months a year, they take that seriously. But for every one person that's complaining, I guarantee you there's 9 people, usually me, who's on board, but I'm not going to go out of my way to email and say, great idea. Do you keep that in mind when you're deciding or how to react to these complaints? Because there's more complaints. There's got to be more complaints than compliments. I just feel that somebody does not like Hauser, that roundabout. There's a few of them. Maybe one of them's a property owner, and they slowed it way down. So I'm glad you guys listen, but I feel there's 9 people that, in this context, want it to be safer. They don't actually want people to be hit by cars as frequently as they are now.
Right.
They want it to be safe for their children. They want it to keep traffic flowing. They don't mind the concept of traveling from point A to point B in a less stressful, more efficient manner. There's people that actually believe in this concept. And I'm being sarcastic because I guarantee it's 9 out of 10 people get it. Now, show that other photo from Iowa City because I do have one kind of question. This is a Coralville. This is approximately the size of a mini roundabout, so it's not like the one at the Y. And some of the key differences involve what's happening with this bus.
Right.
The bus is going to go right on through there.
And that's why, they're called mini roundabouts for a reason. One, they don't have as high a lip as a regular roundabout would have, which allows buses, trucks, vehicles that have a longer or shorter, however you want to say, a turning radius, but allows them to go over the median.
So, that's kind of a learning curve too. If you see a bus, now I'm sure they're going to put their lights on or whatever, but it's kind of like, okay, especially the people that are concerned about how the one in front of the Y on Cedar Street works. Now they're going to have to add this other little caveat. Okay, keep on moving, 50 miles an hour, yield to people that are already in the roundabout, except when it's a bus or a truck, I guess, because they can't make that angle.
It is a learning curve, and it is something that the people have to. It's not a huge deal. For the most part, the buses and trucks will take their space, and you just follow the leader.
And what is the main objection to this, in a sense or two, with the Hauser Street roundabout? Why did this council member say, whoa, one of my constituents emailed me let's pull the brakes on it.
Well, I think the main concern was that they just want to make sure that there was enough fact finding to say that the mini roundabout was actually the best option.
That wasn't done before.
It was done
It would seem
before.
like a huge oversight if they didn't do the fact finding before they presented it.
Well, it's been done several times.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
you know, if there's concerns out there from the public, and whether it gets to a council member or to a member of the city staff, those things are taken seriously. So we'll go back, and that's what we were asked to do: go back, talk to the residents, make sure that this is what they want. Maybe do another traffic study, maybe not.
A 4-lane stop there, that's slower traffic. And the way, when I was reading the research, who knows, maybe you're the one who presented it, but when you're at a 4-lane, there's 16 different possible things. It could be
That's
a left
right.
turn, a right turn. So that's why there's more accidents.
There are more
So
accidents.
if the residents are like, no, it's cool, we would prefer to have more accidents here. But I don't think they're saying that. I think maybe with proper information communication, this is going to happen.
I do think that the mini roundabout is the best option for that intersection, but we'll let the people who want a few more answers get their answers. We have to make sure that the people are on board, especially in that neighborhood.
Yeah,
But in
I
the
love
end,
what you're saying. You're doing due diligence.
That's right. I mean,
And
one
there's nothing
complaint
wrong
is-
with that.
That's right.
People that are complaining about the Mississippi Drive corridor back-in thing, somebody did mention, well, we had a public hearing 2 years ago. Come on. I mean, I'm not saying you said that, but that's not quite how it works. We don't always have the time to go out, and come to these public meetings, but when the people that do, you guys, you try to listen as much as you can.
Right.
Keeping in mind that, at some point a decision has to be made that's in the best interest of the community.
Right, and actually we have at least 3 open houses or meetings for each of these major
Okay.
projects.
Yep. Cheered. Yep.
The
Yeah.
first one kind of introduces it. We take the public input, give it to the architect. He comes back with maybe a few changes. We have a second open house, and the third one might be during an in-depth session to the council, and then we go from there. But we're always looking to make sure that maybe somebody in the public thinks of something that we haven't thought
Yeah,
of.
that's great opportunity. So you listen, and let's talk about Grandview. You might be thinking, I know there's more to Mississippi Drive corridor. It's going to go up towards 2nd Street and the bridge and whatnot, but I'm kind of excited about the Grandview. If this happens, apparently it's going to, but in 2019, 2020, we've got some photos here. It might not be super legible, but wow, I went to this meeting. I'm not sure how I ended up at it, but I went to it, and it's exciting. Now, you might not think about the gates, the opening gates of a community, but Grandview's has been slightly overlooked.
It has.
And the plan is to really have that be one of our entranceways. So right here is the corner of Dick Drake Highway and Highway 61. If you can picture that, I can, but that's where the bypass meets Grandview.
Right.
And so what they were saying was it's very busy, no community gateway elements, no like sign of Muscatine, lots of truck traffic. And so then the next slide will show you their solution or one of their propositions. Boom, roundabout time. Now they gave 2 options, but I'm not sure this is important here, but it's one option, another roundabout.
Well, and that's
And here's the other one they gave. They
Right.
gave us 2. Okay, go ahead.
this is what these open houses and these preliminary meetings is all about. The architects give us a variety of options. Nothing is set in stone at the present time. We look for public input, and then we kind of finalize what we're doing.
Go back to that photo while he's talking. Okay. No, the one right back. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Are you doing that thing where you got down from 2 to 4 again? Because from 4 to 2?
Grandview Avenue itself will be basically 2-lane with a center turn lane.
Okay. Kind of like that plan is for Park Avenue. Yep.
Exactly, pretty much the same, yeah.
Same kind of principle.
Right, but the main thing about Grandview is that we're going to brighten it up
Yeah.
with some plantings and additional sidewalks, things that aren't out there right now.
And there'll be a buffer. The sidewalks are right on the edge. So they're there, but they're not really safe.
Right, there's going to be a greater buffer
Because you'll have 3 lanes instead of 4, so you have a little wiggle room, right?
Right.
Okay.
We'll have
Go
a
to the
little
next
bit more pedestrian friendly area, which is going to benefit the businesses down there and hopefully entice other businesses to move down
This is
there.
huge for south end of town.
I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what it looks like.
This is the next intersection down, so Grandview and Hauser there. So I think there used to be a car lot there, and the only thing I can really think of if you can't get acclimated with this aerial, there's a stoplight there at the moment. There's a trailer court on the other side of the railroad tracks, lumber industry there. So that's the aerial, and let's see what they propose as an option on the next slide. So again, they're giving you a couple options. Now this roundabout I could see a little more feasible. I've never had a lot of trouble getting through that intersection, except for if I'm going across the tracks, but I don't see this being a big issue, especially now that there's that cool trail that goes all the way up to Kentstein and all the way down to Deep Lakes. And you can see this could be a kind of a hotbed of opportunity for the pedestrians that are going to be using that trail now.
That's true.
And so the next option's probably, this was kind of interesting. It's the same concept, but without the roundabout, just making it, like you said, brighten it up, green it up, give it more of a welcoming feel.
And this one does have the medians to try and to separate the turn lanes from the regular lanes. But again, this is just a different option, one of the many that is being considered. And
cool. Let's go down the street a little bit. I think I skipped one of the slides just because it's a big project. But
it is.
Right here is there's the come and go aerial on the top of the screen. There's the old Sunmart. I don't know what it used to be called, WFO. So it's that corner right there where that's a very central corner. There's a car wash there on the bottom. Let's see what they propose in there. And yeah, even that aerial, just that's a sad shape of affairs. And they're going to green it up a little bit. It's a subtle change there.
A lot of these changes are subtle changes, but they're changes that meet the greening aspect, the environmental assessment that we've already had done.
How are you going to do the green thing? Makes sense, but not like in January when it's -5. Are you talking about evergreens, or I'm kind of being serious here because right now Mississippi View, it's not ready for the after picture. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we need some green.
We definitely need the green, and we've been promised that those plants will come back healthy as always. So if
during
not, they'll be in
January, we'll just go
replacement.
down to Florida or whatever and wait it out. No, I'm just kidding though. But there's a lot more to the greening. Is the greening and the extra space, sidewalks, pedestrian friendly and traffic friendly. But again, now if you're trying to get to the bypass or down to Burlington, you used to use Mississippi Drive and then Grandview. It's not going to be quite as quick for transportational vehicles like semis and things. So I think that's by design, if I'm understanding.
It is by design, and
find a different route.
The main thing is that if you're in a hurry, take the bypass. If you don't mind taking the scenic tour through Muscatine and on south.
Shop.
Yeah.
There'll be lots more shops with the new hotel and all these new businesses that'll want to move down here. And the existing ones will get more business.
And that's what we're hoping with the South End project here, the Grandview
Is this for sure happening, or is this?
Grandview is on.
It's funded and everything?
It's
because
funded.
it seems. Okay.
It's already funded.
Just had a different.
2019, 2020.
Yeah, just couldn't do it all at once, right?
Right. We want to do this in segments, and in fact, Carver Corner will be a whole segment of its own. It'll have its own public meetings, and the design, I have seen probably a dozen different designs come across.
Go to the next slide. I think I'm done with the slides. Oh, I do one more. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't have the Carver Corner one, but it's one block up. But I think and I didn't have the after. Well, this is actually the after. No. What I like about this one is right there. I can't describe any of these things, but because there's Taco John's on the bottom, and then the business has changed. There's a city council member Santos's gym up there in the top right. But look what they've got proposed with that vacant city lot there. And we all know what that is if you look. But to go to the next slide, and and I'm sure that's fairly economical, just putting a little stopping area, a little green space, like you're saying, just a little kind of place to stop, and wow, that'll make a huge difference.
It's really exciting to see these preliminary designs, and it's going to be even more exciting 3 years down the road when we see the completed project. There's a lot of phases we have to go through before that, but.
And then the next one would be the Carver Corners, and so a roundabout there is one of the options. And
roundabout's one of the options.
Thinking it through with this U-turn thing, I'm all for the roundabout now because I think that'll come in handy. New people especially, they'll be like a little nervous to do a U-turn, but also they'll be like, well, how the heck do I get back there? Little, a roundabout. It'll be one of the few places where it just kind of makes sense all across the board. They all make sense anyway, but that is one of the weirdest intersections in Muscatine.
It is with Green Street coming down into the intersection there and Main Street, and then hooking up with Hershey and Grandview. So
now that there was a business there that's no longer there, so there's just an opportunity to redo that, and that'll be like the capstone of the Mississippi Drive project and the start of the Grandview.
Right.
Are any of these projects getting in the way of I don't want to talk about the Mississippi River improvements on the Mississippi River front because they're too exciting, but I'm hoping that these aren't getting in the way of all those great things that are happening slowly but surely with the new performing arts bandshell stage and some of the improvements there. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but it seems like a lot is going on in a short amount of time.
Right.
A lot of great things.
In fact, next Thursday evening from 5 to 6:30, we have our first open house for the Grandview Avenue project out at the Water Pollution Control Plant. It'll be a great time for the public to come out and see the preliminary plans that we have, opportunities to talk with city staff, the designers, the architects, make suggestions, ask questions. After that, the ball is starting to get rolling as far as certain projects with the riverfront. The Community Improvement Action Team is getting, now that the Pearls of Progress CAT grant has been secured and we're starting those 4 projects, they're looking to move into doing more with the riverfront and seeking out private investment and public investment and things like that. So you're going to be hearing more about that in the months to come. Your prized bandshell is one of the aspects that we think is one of the cornerstones of the next generation.
Special event, cultural arts performance center. All sorts of different things can happen on that space.
You go to a lot of places, big towns, smaller towns, and they all have this venue where people can just come, throw out a blanket on the grass with their family and just sit, enjoy the music, whatever entertainment is up on the stage, like a little picnic, whatever, and it's just.
We've had one in Muscatine before.
And that is something that we are definitely wanting to get to.
We just had a stage. I'm sorry, we've never had actual bandshell before. Well, and there's some designs that can actually be very aesthetically pleasing.
That's right.
You can be gawking to your left while you're driving down past the contrary in the nice, slow, reduced lanes, and not be. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of great things with that riverfront improvement project, and it's the Pearls of Progress, the Pearls of Change. And we already went through some pretty substantial changes just recently, so it's not like we should overlook the fountain, the mist fountain, for example.
No,
these huge changes have already taken place.
Right, and this next phase of projects for the riverfront, it's going to take 10, 15 years to accomplish everything that has been proposed. And you can look at the master plan that's on our website, and you can see all the different ideas and that have come up. I think there's like 10, 12 projects, different projects that will enhance that park area and make it even better for the visitors and for the citizens.
And the businesses and the residents aren't afraid to pitch in financially if needed to make some of these things. I'm sure every community is like that. I mean, every community
That's
has
right.
people and businesses that do this, but from
The
my
only-
perspective, it seems like we've got a generous community.
The best projects are those that get not only the public investment but also the private investment.
Yeah.
You
a
get
win-win.
that's right. The people get ownership into something that's of value.
Now, I'm an avid cyclist, and I do enjoy the bike trails that are being built. I don't use them much because I'm more of on the county road, but I do want to show you this photo of a disturbing situation that I realized is disturbing to me. But again, it's like saying I don't want tennis courts. You know, I don't play tennis. I could care less. But anyway, I think this is not a photo. I think this actually, I haven't been there, but if I'm not mistaken, this is actually in place on our riverfront trail. And as a cyclist or a person that might ride a tandem or have a baby trailer on board, it looks like I'm gonna have to get off my bike. Now, that's not the end of the world to get off my bike and walk across these tracks. But quite frankly, it is sort of gonna maybe affect my decision. Just like a truck might not want to go through town anymore. I might not want to use this trail anymore. I don't think it's gonna help me be safe to push a bike across there with my cleats on. And I'll get to the point because I realize that the city does not even own this section of land. They're just dealing with what is called the quiet zone. But there's gonna be, or there is a little bit of pushback on this concept. I think if you're gonna try to, slow people down on this particular intersection, then have them in front of every intersection in Muscatine, because you're gonna get hit by a car way more often than you're gonna get hit by a 50-ton railroad car barreling down the street. But what I want you to explain, because that's the negative, sorry about that, but the positive side of it is it's a quiet zone, and I think that's why this is here. Am I wrong about that? You're trying
This down here at Mad Creek, the trail crossing at Mad Creek, the one down at the other end, down by the lift station at the far end of the park, the crossing at Chestnut Street, the one at Sycamore Street, they all are going to have these type of chicanes to them. You won't find them for right now at Iowa, the regular crossings at Iowa and Cedar, but they'll have sidewalks that you have to kind of go around.
And explain the rationale behind that.
The rationale is that they force you to look left and look right to make sure there is no oncoming trains. With the quiet zone, the theory is that the trains will not have to blow their horns.
Right, okay.
Basically,
And that's what I wanted to get to. The point is, that's the main point.
Right. Basically,
Of these extra.
Right. They won't be blowing their horns basically from the far side of the bridge to somewhere down the south end. So.
And just like anything else, you're at the Contrary, you're at the new Merrill Hotel is going to have an outdoor green space eater. You're at the Brew Garden. Those trains come by. It's loud. It's deafening. But the same with the trucks barreling through, their carbon monoxide spewing. All these downtown businesses have got to be loving everything that's happening, because ultimately this is going to be a very comfortable place for all Muscatine residents and out-of-town residents to be. But on this particular quiet zone thing, just show the next slide. I didn't post this one, but somebody posted this on the same thread. If I had a way of going around those, I promise you, I would ride my bike around them, because I get the point. Okay, there might be a train coming. I have my opinion about how easy it is to see a train, and I'll admit that once, at a fraction of the rate that people get hit by cars, they do get hit by trains. But in order to have them convince the railroad stations not to blow their horn, you had to install these, and now they can go through there with a little more confidence that they're not going to hit somebody and be sued. Something like that.
Well, that's the theory of it and everything. And
there's no way to do this, by the way, because they have built chain link fences pretty far. Like, you're going to have to really go out of your way to ride around this thing. Like, I can't see, but I think you've got fences on the right and left of that. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I think I'm going to have to get off my bike and waddle across there.
Well, and the other thing is that these chicanes were designed for bikes, so that you wouldn't really have to get off if you didn't want to. I mean, theoretically. But there again, this is another one of those things that if there are problems, and we need the public input about, send us videos or whatever of.
Oh, I got that. No, and this one isn't that
problems
hard
go-
to fix. It's just, it was a little,
No,
and I
these-
understand. I don't think people understood why, and I hope now hearing the why helps people. And of course, we want people to be safe and not get hit by trains and whatnot. I'm just arguing the fact that there was already a barrier there. You kind of understood, you know, there might be a train coming. There's tracks there. That should be an indication. But I'm just thinking out loud here. If they're not blowing the horn, I mean, that horn was loud, but you sure as heck knew there was a train coming.
That's right.
And I hope that people don't get a false sense of confidence.
Well,
And we have more injuries than less. But statistically, we'll show that those must be safe.
and one of the things, even with the quiet zone, if the conductor or engineer sees a hazard on the tracks, they have the option that they can go ahead and blow the horn. I mean, you and I both know that there's areas along that right-of-way, the railroad right-of-way, where somebody could just walk across without even thinking or stumbling. There's issues like that, but so the conductors themselves, even in a quiet zone, have that option that they can blow the horn just to sound a warning.
I don't have much time. Actually, we're out of time, but is there any way that instead of back-end parking on Mississippi Corridor, you guys could repaint the lines and have it be front-end angled parking so that the stall is when you're backing out, not when you're pulling in? Is that even a thing? Front angled parking?
That is probably, of all the parking options, that's probably the least safe parking
Okay.
ever. More accidents happen with front-end parking than parallel parking.
The back out part?
Yep, you're backing into traffic, you're blinded. If you got cars next to it, you don't have any vision. If there's a car approaching, they're going at not supposed to be going at a high rate of speed, but if they're going even just the speed limit, you're not going to see them in time to stop. So the theory is that the safest parking is back-end angled parking, because when you pull out into traffic, you have a clear vision of what's out there. You can move into traffic safely. When you back in, you're backing in where it's safe for you to exit your vehicle to load your supplies or whatever you bought.
Yep. And the only thing I guess I'm just worried about the people behind the back inner is that I did feel like I was being a big a-hole when I backed. I slowed down, put my turn signal on, and the guy did not know what was happening. But we'll get it. But that's my only concern, is that you kind of have a little bit of courage to purposely stop in front of somebody behind you, and the guy just barely gave me enough room because he didn't know what was going on.
You have the same problem on 2nd Street or any of the city streets with parallel parking.
Yep. It's a form of parallel parking. It's a little easier than parallel parking, actually.
It's a lot easier than parallel parking, but it's still the same principle.
It's the best case solution, it sounds like, after lots of thought and input from the city.
That's right.
Okay. Well, if you want to be on the show or comment, we have on our Facebook page, at the top of the page there, we've got pinned to the top, if you want to comment on the video or back-end parking, or go to the City of Muscatine's website, or talk to our guest. Any point in time, he'll communicate to those that matter. It sounds like the City of Muscatine, the employers, the voted in elected officials really do care and listen.
That's right, they do.
All right, well, thanks for being my guest, and feel free to send people my way or come out anytime. And we look forward to having you communicate more about all the great things happening in Muscatine.
I look forward to it.
All right, well, that's it for this week. We'll see you next time.